Welcome today to the questions and answers with Vital Life Energy Formulas. It's very good to have you all here with us, joining and sharing and learning and healing and growing and changing. It's a wonderful, wonderful gift that we all have to share and grow and learn and change with each other. We appreciate you all taking the time, because there's so many platforms now that people can listen to, so many podcasts and vlogs. For you to take the time out to be on with us, we so appreciate it. Vital Life Energy Formulas does not treat, diagnose, cure, profess a cure of any sort of disease. So I want to read our most recent newsletter that I wrote this morning. As a team, we always go back and forth. As you all know, I've been with Jeff and Alin that created the Vital Life Energy Formulas for 28 years. And the iridology I learned from Jeff's wife, Ellen, and Jeff as well. And I've been trained under them. I remember when I first was given what to look for with the iris. This was before cameras. This was before computers showing you the changes or showing you your photograph. You'd look in the person's eye with a magnifier and you'd draw it, or you'd get a iridology sheet and you'd mark certain things on the sheet. Technology has helped evolve iridology dramatically. I was trained old school, which is to look at a person's eye, make notes. I would then give the information to Jeff, and then Jeff would then do the analysis. And then a person would come back in a month's time. I'd take another look at the iris, the person's feeling better, and then share the changes to Jeff, and then Jeff would give the analysis. That's how I started with iridology. The camera came fairly quickly after I started doing the iridology, and Jeff and Alin's son actually researched and found the iridology camera and then also the computer so that we could show a person what we were seeing. And that goes back 27 and a half, it's probably close to 27 years. And so you get to learn a lot by seeing the images of people's irises. That's how you get to see a lot of changes. The newsletter, what is an open lesion in the iris? The open iris fiber and breakage of the iris fibers shows an inherited genetic weakness through the iris fibers reflecting in the body. An open lesion shows that nutrients moving in and out of the area have reduced. So the nutrients moving in and carrying into the cells and into the tissue have reduced, and toxic settlement can accumulate. The picture below, which is what I've got up on the screen, shows before and after 1 month of taking the Vital Life Energy Formulas and the healing in the reflex area of the body in the iris. In seeing the iris fibers, you are looking into the iris and seeing the tissue fiber 3 layers. The iris is 3-dimensional. The after iris image shows more cross-section in the lesion. So this is the before open lesion, and this is the after, where I'm showing and pointing with my mouse and I'm circling. So you'll see here, that's the first image. And then you'll see the second image, those of you that are on a computer that can see what I'm sharing. And that's what it's showing. There's showing more cross-section. You'll see the fiber next to the outer lining of the lesion, and the lines coming in stronger underneath, and then more cross-section of the fibers filling in from the underneath, which is the reason you're looking at the image of an iris photo. You're looking at an image of it being 3-dimensional. So the more fiber coming from underneath, which is what I'm sharing with you, you're seeing more of the fibers coming in from underneath. And the depth shows the healing and the nutrients moving into the tissue cells and toxins being carried away from the cells to be eliminated. During the regeneration of the cells, the fiber of the lesion will fill in and become the same as the tissue fiber next to the lesion. So this is the outline of the lesion before and after. The fibers either side of it, the lesion as it's healing will become the same as those fibers outside the lesion as it heals, as it regenerates. During the regeneration of the cells, the fiber of the lesion will fill in and become the same as the tissue next to the lesion. White lines inside the open lesion, parallel to each other, show the healing after the cross section and the depth fills in from inside the lesion. So it's going in stages, because this is 1 month. This is 1 month before, and I know it looks like there's more white fibers there. This is 1 month later. There's more cross section coming in the lesion, which is then you know that nutrients are actually moving in and it's removing toxin out of the tissue. This is going straight down to the reproductive organ, whether it's a male, it's the testes, or it's a female, it's the ovary. White lines inside the open lesion parallel to each other show the healing after the cross section and the depth fills in from inside the lesion. So there's stages. Stage 1 of the healing is the depth and the cross section more visible, which is what we're seeing. See, we're seeing more of the depth of the lesion and more cross section inside the lesion. That's stage 1 of healing. Stage 2 of healing is the tissue fiber inside with white lines filling in parallel to each other. So this whole area will start to become like you're seeing these white strands. That's the second stage of healing. Stage 3 of the open lesion, healing is when the lesion disperses into the other fibers on either side of the lesion, forming straight iris fibers. That takes a long time, but it starts to become, the fibers start to become one, like you're seeing here. They all start to become, straight and parallel next to each other. So this doesn't stand out as an open lesion. There's a few more things in this iris too. You can see, which you don't see that this often. There's called a transversal fiber. You see where I'm pointing? And I can draw that on the screen or circle around it. Transversal fiber is where there's a trauma, either to the liver or the spine. This is showing towards the liver. As the functional anatomy that we talk in relationship to the ancient geometry, the ovary or the testes cross over. This is the left eye that we're looking at, and it crosses over to the liver, to the opposite shoulder, to the opposite breast. So left testicle, left ovary crosses over directly to the liver, to the gallbladder, to the right breast, to the right shoulder. So that's how we're seeing relationship to this transversal fiber. You see it's like a pink line going down opposite, like fibers go one way, parallel, and this is going across the iris fibers. It's called a transversal fiber, and it's associated to liver injury, trauma to the liver, or a spinal trauma. It's healing already, and just looking at the photographs in just 1 month, because it doesn't have the same pink tracking inside the blue fiber. So you can see it's more of a white discoloration or a shadow of the white going across the iris fibers, which is called a transversal fiber. Now, I know this iris photo, so I know that this is the liver for the individual and a trauma to the liver, and hepatitis is one of the traumas that our liver can go through. I want to share some information because there's been a lot of questions about the L-theanine, and a lot of parents asking me for their children to take it because the L-theanine, the benefits of it, which you find it in black tea and in green tea, that's where you find the L-theanine, and certain mushrooms will have L-theanine. Children aren't going to drink green tea. They're not going to drink black tea. For all of us, it's good to have one of those in the morning time in that first 2-hour window of waking, which is called the circadian metabolism. So doing our aminos, that builds that glucose reserve, the glycogen and the glucose reserve. And it gives us the ketones, which is the lysine and the leucine. Those ketones, which lysine and leucine activate the ketones, actually produce a chemical in the liver that's essential for breaking down fats. Those fats are essential for our brain, for our connective tissue, for our arteries, for our veins, and for every single endocrine gland. Last week, we talked about the spinal fluid and glucose, electrolytes, cholesterol, lipids, glucose being amino acids, proteins, which amino acids are the individual single forms of protein, making up the cerebral spinal fluid. So these key ketones that I'm talking about, which is in your programs, the leucine and the lysine are the ketones that the liver needs to produce a chemical that breaks down the fats that are carried from the liver, where to? The cerebral spinal fluid. Reminding us all today that the eye, when we're looking at your eye, we're looking at that fluid which your eye is bathed in, and we're looking at the brain because the eye is up where the brain is. So the cerebral spinal fluid moving from the sacrum up the spine to the brain, made up of proteins, glucose, electrolytes, and the lipids. It's the reason we promote the castor oil packs, as we know that's an oil that you'll absorb through your skin and into your lymph and then carry into your liver, and it doesn't oxidize. The problem today is that fats easily oxidize, even if you're having the best oils, omega-3, omega-6, and 9. Our liver, from chemical exposure, from so many new pathogens, from bacterial exposure, from heavy metal toxicity, which we all have today, it gets overloaded, and then the liver can easily oxidize the fats. The castor oil, and you can rub it in with us going in. Obviously, we just went in yesterday, the summer solstice. You've just gone through the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. So you're going to start to come back around with more sunlight. We've just gone to the longest, officially summer, and we'll start to go back around to getting more darker days. So that's how nature works, and we're following those cycles of nature with all of us, and that's why we always want to keep you all ahead of things, and the things that I share from Jeff and his family to you all is to keep us abreast and keep us ahead of things, as viruses are always being, we're being exposed to all the time, and environmental toxin all the time. So I'm sharing about the L-theanine. I've just done a circle and coming back around to the L-theanine because it's a amino acid that a lot of people have been asking about. So L-theanine is made from alanine and glutamic acid that produce theanine. Now you'll go, well, I don't see glutamic acid in any of the amino acids that we have, the 19 different bottles of different formulas that we have. And I don't see glutamic acid. Well, glutamine will activate glutamic acid. But then I just talked about ketones and how important they are, which is the lysine and the leucine, to activate the chemical in the liver to break down the fats. So alanine, which we know is in a lot of the different formulas of the vital life energy combinations, the AB, the BC, the CE, the PA, the HM. There's a lot of alanine in the combinations of the vital life energy formulas. So the glutamic acid, which glutamine will break down into glutamic acid, but also glutamic acid from the biochemistry comes from glucose. Well, where does glucose come from? Didn't we just do a full circle? Glycogen reserve in the liver is where glucose comes from. Amino acids, when you eat a protein, you break it down into free-form amino acids, and digestible protein, because you can eat a protein and it can sit there for 12 to 24 hours and oxidize, and you're not getting the digestible form of protein to break down into those free-form amino acids to enter your bloodstream to go to your liver to build the glycogen reserve. So how's that? Glutamic acid comes from the glycogen reserve to glucose. So the different amino acids that we're all getting, tyrosine, histidine, glycine, are producing that glucose that we need from the glycogen reserve, and that produces the L-theanine with the alanine, which we have a lot in the program. So the program produces the L-theanine. You can drink a cup of green tea or black tea to get the L-theanine also. Children aren't going to do that. That's the amino acid formulas. Li for the children, the AB for the children, the peace and tranquility for the children, the BC branch chain amino acid formula, the stem cell formula for the children, the PP formula, the premium prebiotic formula for the children. They don't take all of the different formulas that we do, and they're mostly the white powdered combinations, so they don't have too much of a taste. And the children get used to it, and they can mix it with whatever they like. They can even put it in Nutella if mum and dad allow that. It can go in chocolate. So let's look at L-theanine. So L-theanine in black tea and green tea, but obviously your glutamic acid and your alanine in your program. Glutamic acid is coming from glutamine, but it's also coming from glucose. Glucose is from glycogen reserve from your program amino acids. So the L-theanine, beneficial in green tea and also black tea, is for mental focus, improved sleep, relaxation, increased cognitive function, memory, and concentration. That's generally why a lot of the parents are asking about that particular amino acid, is for their child and their concentration at school and their memory. Increases athletic performance, reduces weight, boosts immunity, also reduces blood pressure. Now, remember I said about that 2-hour window of the circadian metabolism. So if you can have a cup of green tea or black tea in that first 2-hour window, it will activate more of that L-theanine that you need. That influences melatonin release at 9 p.m. in the evening. It's always been, as Jeff shared, the daylight hours is when the growth hormone's activated. It's not while we're sleeping. It's sent out when we sleep because the body repairs and rebuilds while we're sleeping. But the growth hormone's made through the daylight hours. So what we do in that first 2-hour window of us waking is very important to activate the release of melatonin for us to go into a deep, healing, regenerative sleep cycle. From 9 p.m., it starts being released, that melatonin. Serine another amino acid that's very important for the cycle of L-theanine too. Glycine, in a lot of the formulas and a lot of the Vital Life Energy combination, is the amino acid that activates serine. I'm going to pause the recording right now and take any questions from anyone, and then I'll come back on and finish the recording. I'm just finishing off our recording, and we just had a few questions on the information we shared about today with the theanine and L-theanine and green tea and olive oil and lemon, as we've talked about, with doing that first thing on arising, and then following with ginger and lemon tea. And one person asked about, can I mix all three together? And yes, you can, as long as your stomach doesn't feel upset from it, or just do the green tea without the ginger and lemon. And then some people do have a very sensitive stomach, so the green tea doesn't quite settle well. So suggesting to just do the olive oil lemon with the olive oil lemon, and then follow with the ginger and lemon tea. and then eat the breakfast and then take maybe the green tea later, or to try black tea instead of green tea. Well, it's a beautiful day where we are here, and I hope you all have a super exceptional weekend. We're here for you, and if you need any help, reach out to us. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you all next week. Bye-bye.